Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And as always, welcome to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today we're going to talk about Qui-Gon Jinn, in continuing our catalog of the characters of the Star Wars saga. So let's begin. Qui-Gon first appears in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He and his apprentice, or Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, have been sent by the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic to settle the dispute that is happening at the planet Naboo. The Trade Federation has blockaded Naboo because of something about taxes. Yeah, we won't get into that. The two Jedi, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, are there to hopefully settle, the dispute. It is not known, however, and they do not know that the Trade Federation is under the control of a Sith Lord named Darth Sidious. Obi-Wan sensed something strange going on, but somewhere elsewhere, not about their mission. You can only assume that that was about Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. But Qui-Gon warned Obi-Wan, you'll keep your focus here and now. They were a little perplexed by how long it was taking for the Viceroy of the Trade Federation to actually come and meet with them. It was Qui-Gon who said, I sense an unusual amount of fear. However, things quickly went south. Darth Sidious ordered the Trade Federation leaders to kill the Jedi. The room was flooded with poison, and droids were sent to kill them. The Jedi managed to escape, fighting off lots of battle droids and droidicons, and noticed that the Trade Federation was planning for an invasion of Naboo. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan stowed away on the Trade Federation ships and went down to the planet's surface, where, of course, they encountered Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar volunteered to lead them to the Gungan city of Otoh. And, or rather, should we say that instead of volunteering, Jar Jar was sort of talked into it by the Jedi. The Jedi then met with the leaders of the Gungans, Boss Nass, and the other leaders of the Gungan Council. He tried to warn them about the danger the Trade Federation posed. Boss Nass wasn't too concerned, thinking that it only had to do with the Naboo, the human inhabitants of Naboo, and it would not affect the Gungans. Of course, Obi-Wan tried to warn them that, you form a symbiotic circle. But Boss Nass wouldn't listen. Qui-Gon was able to persuade him through a few mind tricks to at least give them a transport so that they could reach the capital city of Theed before the Queen would be in danger. Boss Nass then gave the Jedi a Mongo, a transport, and allowed Jar Jar Binks to go free to act as their navigator. Jar Jar is not a very effective navigator, let's just say that. But regardless, After a few misadventures in the oceans of Naboo, they arrived at the capital city and were able to rescue Queen Amidala, who had been taken prisoner. Had been taken prisoner by the Trade Federation. It was Qui-Gon's belief that they needed to escape, even though the Queen thought it would be better for her to stay with her people. Qui-Gon was able to convince her, and they all managed to escape in the Queen's starship, breaking past the blockade with help from R2-D2. It was then that they discovered the hyperdrive was leaking and was not going to be able to get them to Coruscant, the capital of the Republic. It was Obi-Wan who suggested that they go to the planet Tatooine. And Captain Panaka, the Queen's protector, did not like the idea of going to Tatooine because it's controlled by the Hutts, and the Hutts being gangsters. Yet again, Qui-Gon stubbornly insisted that they go there. Now they went there, and then by chance, or probably by the will of the Force, they encounter Anakin Skywalker. Anakin, being a kind young man, a kind boy, a little boy actually, offers them shelter in his home. Around the dinner table, Qui-Gon first begins to suspect that there's something special about this boy. And he could see what a kind heart that Anakin had. Anakin insisted that if he were to race in the pod race and win, it would give them the money they need to repair their hyperdrive. As Watto was charging an arm and a leg for it. Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mom, was very reluctant. But consented that this was probably the only plan that would work. After a little pouting from Anakin, but it was for a good reason. Anakin also figured out that Qui-Gon was a Jedi, and was very interested to know their mission. Qui-Gon began to suspect that something was very unique about this boy. In speaking to Shmi Skywalker, Qui-Gon discovered that Anakin was conceived, possibly, by the power of the Force. As Shmi said that there was no father, and she became pregnant. Qui-Gon had already suspected that Anakin, because of the fact that he was the only human who could pod race, must have had some natural ability with the Force. These pieces together made him suspect that Anakin could be the chosen one of Jedi legend. After checking, yes, I have to talk about it. After checking Anakin's midichlorian count, this confirmed Qui-Gon's suspicions that Anakin was indeed the chosen one of Jedi legend. After Anakin won the pod race, Qui-Gon took Anakin and their whole contingent, and they went to Coruscant. He told Anakin that training to be a Jedi would be difficult, but Anakin was willing to accept the challenge. The Jedi reported to the Jedi Council, where Qui-Gon explained that he had found a boy who may have been the chosen one of legend. Mace Windu and Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi were very wary of such a claim and reluctantly agreed to have it brought before them. After testing Anakin, they believed that he definitely had Force potential, but they were not going to train him as a Jedi, as in their mind it wasn't the right time for that. Now, I believe this is indicative of the Jedi being kind of lost. Not entirely their own fault, though some of it they were to blame. I think the Jedi had gotten a little bit lost in their ways, and also the Emperor Palpatine, or at that time Senator Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, was powerful enough to be able to blind them to the truth. Qui-Gon, stubbornly, yet again, said, well, you know what, I'm going to train him anyway, and I'm going to take him as my Padawan. The Jedi, of course, are like, well, you can't do that because that's against the rules. Qui-Gon had already shown the fact that he didn't care much about the rules. He was a free spirit kind of Jedi who believed in following his own interpretation of the Jedi path. Even Obi-Wan chided him for that, saying, you know, if you followed the code, you'd be on the council. And Qui-Gon, of course, said, I will do what I must. But Qui-Gon also expressed the fact that he believed that he could take Anakin as an apprentice because he believed Obi-Wan was ready to become a Jedi Knight and move from beyond being a Padawan. Yoda, of course, said, our own council we will keep on who is ready. And Obi-Wan was actually pleased that his master thought so highly of him. The Jedi and the Senate were really of no help to Qui-Gon and Queen Amidala and company. So Queen Amidala decided that she would return to Naboo anyway, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Anakin agreed to accompany her back. Qui-Gon, before they departed, Qui-Gon explained the concept of midichlorians to Anakin, and told Anakin to watch and learn from Qui-Gon, even though Qui-Gon himself was not allowed to train Anakin. They returned to Naboo and were able to convince the Gungans, who were now under threat, to join their cause. Queen Amidala concocted a military strategy, which Qui-Gon thought was quite an effective idea, and they joined the battle. While they were there, Qui-Gon insisted that Anakin hide in the cockpit of a Naboo starfighter and stay there, which actually was a good idea in the end, too. However, as they were about to enter the palace, who should appear but Darth Maul? Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan then engaged Darth Maul in a fierce lightsaber battle. So the Gungans engaged the droid army on the plains of Naboo. Queen Amidala infiltrated the palace with her guards, and Anakin flew the starfighter into orbit to join the space battle. Quite a battle if you think about all the different components of it. Unfortunately, as we know, after a furious battle with Darth Maul, Qui-Gon was struck down. Obi-Wan was able to defeat Darth Maul and rush to his master's side as Qui-Gon died. However, before Qui-Gon's death, he made Obi-Wan promise him that he would train Anakin. And Obi-Wan promised. Qui-Gon then passed away. Qui-Gon was given a Jedi funeral after the victory of the Battle of Naboo. Anakin was able to shut down all the droids by destroying the droid control ship. One accident, but we'll get that at a later time. And Qui-Gon was given a Jedi funeral and his body was burned. And Obi-Wan promised Anakin that he would train him as a Jedi. In fact, Qui-Gon's defiance had rubbed off on Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, in meeting with Yoda, said, "I'm going to train Anakin even without the Council's permission." And Yoda's like, grumble, grumble. And reluctantly he suggested that, okay, maybe Anakin is the chosen one. And maybe Qui-Gon was right. What is it Yoda says? Qui-Gon's defiance I sense in you. Need that you do not. Okay. So, that, however, is not the end of Qui-Gon's story. In Star Wars Episode 3, actually, you know what? In Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when Anakin is slaughtering the Sand People, Yoda can sense it and hears the voice of Qui-Gon saying, "Anakin, no." Then in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Yoda says to Obi-Wan, when they're on board Senator Organa's starship, Yoda says that he will teach Obi-Wan how to commune with the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, we may wonder, how could this be if Qui-Gon didn't vanish and become one with the Force? Now, I don't usually like to do this, but in the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated series, in Season 6, the voice of Yoda, or the voice of Qui-Gon, I should say, comes to Yoda again. The other Jedi can't hear it and think that Yoda's mind may be infected by some dark side sickness. Yoda, quote-unquote, escapes, showing that he does have a mischievous streak, and follows to the planet Dagobah, where the disembodied voice of Qui-Gon had told him to go. Here Yoda is able to commune more fully with the voice of Qui-Gon. And we learned that before the events of the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon had been on a journey to discover how to maintain his identity as a Force ghost after death. And his training, however, was incomplete when he was killed. He had advanced to the point where he could manifest his voice after death, but not his body, and was able to teach Yoda, guide Yoda on the quest where Yoda learned to maintain himself as a Force ghost. Yoda, of course, teaches it to Obi-Wan. And I'm sure Qui-Gon's disembodied voice also taught Obi-Wan, who may have taught it or passed on that knowledge in some way to Anakin, and may have also, as his Force ghost, passed that on to Luke, and things like that. It's a bit more complex than that, but I usually don't like to bring up stuff that doesn't happen in the movies, but since it's mentioned in Revenge of the Sith, it does count. So now we know through the canon that Qui-Gon exists after death He was able to maintain his identity to some fashion. The question remains, is he still able to learn post-mortem? Is he able to eventually get to the point where he can manifest himself as a Force ghost? Maybe the Kenobi series will explore these themes. Of Obi-Wan in the desert learning how to commune with the spirit of Qui-Gon. And maybe Qui-Gon has advanced to the point where he can appear in body as a Force ghost. So that is the story of Qui-Gon Jinn. We shall see if he gets any mention in The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not willing to bet money on it, but it's certainly a possibility. How do I feel about this character? I love Qui-Gon. He is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Brought to life wonderfully by Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson was an incredible choice. Not only is he able to deliver a good performance, but I actually think the writing of the character is actually good. I think that this is one of the parts of the script, George Lucas's script of the Phantom Menace, that actually works in terms of character development, is that Qui-Gon is written so well as this Maverick Jedi. And of course we learn later that he was Count Dooku's Padawan, when Count Dooku was a Jedi Knight, which may explain why Qui-Gon sees things very differently. Not enough necessarily to leave the Jedi Order like Count Dooku did, but enough to be not entirely in line with the Jedi Order's thinking. Now, I think it's possible that Qui-Gon may have been more like what the Jedi were supposed to be, in terms of not being so hidebound, not being so dogmatically by the rules. I guess you could say that Qui-Gon's sort of a hippie Jedi. But I think we know that his heart was in the right place, and also it's him that we can thank Qui-Gon because, in the end, when Anakin brought balance to the Force, that was all set in motion by Qui-Gon Jinn. So I think he's a fabulous character who I love, and I think Liam Neeson is able to bring so much to the character. Which is interesting because you see throughout the Star Wars saga, as directed by George Lucas, because George is not so much a director of actors. A lot of the actors bring their own power as actors to the role. And I think Liam Neeson is an actor that can make something from nothing. Even though he's really getting no direction, I think he's able to bring something to the table and deliver a marvelous performance. I'm very interested to see if we see or hear Qui-Gon in the Kenobi series. I have not read the Master and Apprentice novel, which is about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. But it is very interesting that he was the only one of the Jedi who really believed that Anakin was the chosen one. Even later, many of the Jedi were still reluctant about that idea. And I believe that it is actually true that Anakin was the chosen one, and that Qui-Gon was right. Qui-Gon's a great character. You know, it's sad that he was killed off, but I think it's all right. Now, I know that he seemed a kind of a weird insert because the ghost of Obi-Wan had said to Luke that Yoda had been the one who instructed him. And that's true, I think, when Obi-Wan was a youngling. That word again. youngling. When Anakin was a very, very young child at the Jedi Temple, Yoda was his teacher, as Yoda was with all. So Qui-Gon didn't really need to exist, I think. But I'm very, very glad that he does exist, and that he was inserted into the story, even though it didn't really make sense for him to be there. But I think he was a great addition, and I'm glad he was there, and I really, really appreciate what George wrote for the character and what Liam Neeson brings to the character, and how much I think a lot of fans really, really do like Qui-Gon, and that he has had a lasting impact despite appearing in only one Star Wars film. So those are my thoughts on the great Qui-Gon Jinn. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you hear is my ventilator, and thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Let me know what you think about this character. May the Force be with you.